Okay, so revision for philosophy and ethics. The topic we've chosen is good and evil, because that's what most of you said you needed to go over. So I'm going to read through the PowerPoint. All these PowerPoints are on our website. Most of you have seen them as well if you've been to revision classes. These are the crib sheets, and we've got sets of these. If you want to grab one, you can come and get one and do some revision from it. A good idea is to fill it in either at the same time or after you've gone through the PowerPoint to see what you can remember. Okay, so your key terms. Could you give a decent definition for each of these key terms? So free will, natural evil, redemption, benevolent, omniscient, omnipotent, moral evil, inconsistent, triad. A really good starting point is to make sure that you can. If you can do that, then you've got a good kind of basic knowledge before we get any further. So make sure you've covered your key terms. Okay, natural evil and man-made evil. These are the two that are quite important. So natural evil is suffering that is caused by nature, so for example earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, etc. Man-made or moral evil, as it can be referred to in your exam, is suffering that's caused by the actions of humans, for example war, pollution, crime. The devil. Okay, so that some people believe that Satan was an angel called Lucifer. He rebelled against God and he was thrown out of heaven. As a result, he now seeks revenge by tempting humans away from the will of God. If you look at the story of Job and the Garden of Eden for examples there. His power, however, is limited by God. Some Christians believe that people or places can be possessed by evil. However, not all Christians believe this, and some just see the devil as an idea rather than a real being that's going around tempting people. The story of the fall and original sin. St. Paul uses the term original sin, which is the evil that Eve introduced into the world. God forbids Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge. He warns them that evil and death will enter the perfect world if they do. The serpent, however, tempts Eve into eating from the forbidden tree, and once they eat the fruit, they know about evil as well as good, and they're no longer innocent. This is how sin gets into the world. And the problem of evil. So if God is supposed to be omnipotent and all-powerful, why can't he stop his suffering? Why isn't he powerful enough to do this? If he is supposed to be omnibenevolent and all-loving, then why does he not care enough to do something about it? If God is all omniscient or all-seeing, then why does he not know that we're suffering and do something about it? So it creates a problem for the key three beliefs that Christians have about God, because each of them seem to be challenged by the idea of there being so much evil and suffering in the world. Okay, so these are two of the big philosophical responses to the problem of evil and suffering, Augustine and Irenaeus. Irenaeus makes God responsible for evil. Irenaeus allows free will so humans can grow, and he sees people as being prepared for heaven. He sees suffering as real. So Irenaeus is the soul-strengthening sort of version of the theodicy. It's the idea that evil and suffering needs to be in the world in order for people to have free will. We've chosen to be evil. It's there because we've made our own choices. Whereas Augustine blames it on the fall. It's also free will, but he does see, he sees God as judging people from heaven or hell, and he sees suffering more as a privation or a lack of good. Okay, so they're the two different theodicies. We'll go over them a little bit more in class because that was the area a lot of you said you needed a bit more help on. Coping with suffering. Christians believe that Jesus Christ broke the power of evil and suffering over people by his innocent suffering and death on the cross. By raising from the dead and returning to his Father in heaven, Jesus gave Christians hope that death is not the end and that people will continue to live on after death. So it's the idea that there was a kind of a sin debt that was created excuse me, by Adam and Eve, and that by Jesus suffering on the cross and his sacrifice of his own life, he's kind of helped people enter heaven if we choose to follow Jesus' teachings. That's what Christians believe. Practically, Christians can pray against suffering. They believe that prayer does have power, and also this should support charities, for example, things like soup kitchens, local homeless charities. But you've also got CAFOD and Christian Aid, which were the two big charities that you had to do a little bit of a case study on. So use those as examples of charities that they can support. Making moral decisions. So if there's evil and suffering in the world, one of our a Christian's duty would be to make moral decisions. So they've got the Bible, 10 Commandments in the Old Testament, and Jesus' teachings in the New Testament. The church, Christian community, for example, vicars and priests to get guidance from, and conscience. So many Christians think that that's the voice of God guiding them. Okay, and then we've got some exam practice questions for you. So a good idea, once you've filled in your crib sheet and you feel like you are confident with that unit, is to choose some questions and actually set yourself the task of doing a couple of timed questions, handing them in to us and getting them marked. This is the thing that's going to make a lot of difference to you, because if you are doing these questions over and over again, you're going to be much more confident when it comes to your exam. Okay, we will go over the other topics in class. You can, like I said, go onto our website and you can get as many of those as you want to. All the PowerPoints for the different topics are already up there.